What's up, everyone? We are back. I am DTG. With me, as always, are my two guys, Knox and Ez. Give them a hi, boys.
Sup?
How's it going?
This is the Best in Slot Radio podcast. It is a podcast focused on Final Fantasy XIV, its game design and features, as well as how it stacks up to other games on the market. And holy fuck, boys, before we even start, forget how it stacks up against other games on the market. Do any other games on the market stack up to Endwalker?
No. No. Like, by and
Same.
large, Endwalker, it is the culmination of 10 years worth of storytelling. And
It's so good.
it's amazing. Genuinely.
It's so good.
I mean, to
I
put it
didn't-
like cut and dry for me, I've never had a piece of media pull as much emotion out of me as Endwalker has. Like,
That's good. Yeah.
We were all saying, how do they top Shadowbringers story-wise?
It's
And they did.
tops. Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
They did it.
So
yeah, they did. But
this
we'll
is,
go through it one step at a time.
exactly. So this is episode 7 of Best in Slot, and it's part 1 of us kind of talking through the Endwalker MSQ and everything that it encompasses. This is a warning to you now, to any of our listeners, to any of our viewers on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Spoiler alert, like super high, like the highest of key alerts.
Spoilers left and right from
Everywhere.
more or less 60 seconds forward.
Yeah,
Spoilers,
we-
spoilers.
Yeah,
We are
Yeah.
not holding back at all. This is your opportunity to get out before hearing anything that you don't want to. You have been warned. I'm going to give it 5 seconds.
Yeah. Well, not only that. Don't assume that just because this is the start that we're only going to be talking about shit that might happen like immediately from the get go. Like
Yes, that
something
is a
may
good
come
way.
up
We're
that we
gonna go in
get.
sequential order. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We might.
will,
there
but
might.
yeah.
There might be some we get really hyped about and we just blurt it out. So just 80 to 90 spoiler warning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That's actually a really good point. So before we dive directly into the MSQ, there's 2 things I want to talk about. Number 1, and it has to be said so we can just talk about it, the login issues that everyone has had during Endwalker and how you as a Nox have personally adjusted your schedule to it. Nox, why don't you start? What is anything changed for you?
A little bit. I already kind of knew going into it I was going to have to kind of sit in line, roll the dice with the queue to an extent. But I kind of, I wouldn't say like cut out of work early, but basically started kind of babysitting queues early at
Sure.
like an hour or so before I'd get off of work, just so I can actually like get in sooner.
Yeah.
Then tap the keyboard and then I'd set a timer. At first, it was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes that I would just be like, yeah, I know, I'm guilty of idling. Hate me now. I'll say it.
I did it.
But it's the only like secure way where it's like, this is your set time to game, right? So preempt that by getting ready. So you're not waiting. You got 2 hours of game time, actual core game time. Okay. Plan an hour and ahead to make sure you can get in for those 2 hours.
Absolutely.
But other than that, not really too much. I mean, I'll definitely say I pulled the gamer move and stayed up till some wee hours. Actually, maybe not have slept a couple days, but
On release date, you mean?
actually, well, no, I couldn't plan it out that good. I had to,
Sure.
family things and work around. But I think it was that Saturday. I definitely stayed up till like it was like 6 or so. Heard
Nice.
the wee one waking up, and I'm like, oh shit,
Oh,
I
fuck.
should. It's gonna be a long day, guys.
Absolutely. What about Ez? What about yourself?
So I am a degenerate no life, and I did stay up until 4 a.m. launch night of the early launch, and I was at the forefront with all of my other tank brothers and sisters that refused to succumb to these new disgusting sages and their little flying things and all the reapers. So many fucking reapers! Oh
There's a
my
lot of
god!
reapers.
There
Wait
are
a second,
so
don't
many
you have a
reapers.
90 Reaper already?
No, they are
Okay.
called Dark Knight, and they need love and affection.
They need something, that's for sure.
But like I was so ahead of the pack with the MSQ that we're rounding out the podcast tonight with it. But the first trial I got to, and there was no one, not a
no
single
one
soul doing the trial, except
Wow.
for and it's why I mentioned it before, except for my brothers in arms, the tanks.
Yep, they got ahead while they could.
I have multiple screenshots of me being in all tank party finder groups, and we're just fighting Zodiark, and it's amazing.
I love it. So I've adjusted my schedule. I was already getting up at like 6 a.m. normally, so I just pushed that to 4:45, and I did so on the day of release. And then, ironically, I tried to log in at 4:20 in the morning, and it was like a 3,500 person queue.
Oh,
on
yeah.
release. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. So then I got reminded that Yoshi P was like, hey, use World Server. This is before they shut it off. I switched servers. I had like 27 in queue. I got right in. I fucking felt amazing when that happened. So
nice.
it was really nice to do that. On the topic of login issues, just before we move on, the only thing I want to say, I get it for the people that haven't been able to adjust their schedule, and I understand your frustration. I totally get that. It sucks that you have to babysit your queue. You don't have to anymore, but the 2002 airs were really shitty, and it sucks for everyone who got affected by that. I know all of us here have gotten affected by that, so we feel for you, but at the same time, it's like this isn't as bad as it could have been. So I think, moving on now, I think we can just move past it. So
yeah, to that point, I want to add that like now when I'm sitting in queue and I'm like at like 3,600, 4K or whatever, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna throw on some videos or whatever, or even go upstairs, do something
like
else for a little bit,
yeah.
and not really worry about it too much. Where before, like first week and so, I'd have to be sitting and literally babysitting it because of those 202s.
Yeah.
Like I can comfortably say, like, okay, I'll wait in queue now.
Yeah. It was not fun to do that. So
also, as of recently, it's become so fucking popular they had to stop selling it.
I'm blown away by that. I mean, like, great, good for them.
Literally suffering from
player base.
Literally.
Yeah. But like, just from a logistical standpoint, like, not only did they stop the sales of it, but they gave people game time. Mm-hmm. I did very crude math. Let's assume 2 million people play the game right now. They gave you 75% of your subscription fee. If your subscription is $15 a month, they gave you $11.50 times 2 million, $22.5 million. That's a lot of money they lost. Just so that you could feel better. Just perspective for people who are like, it's not good enough. Dude, nobody wants to lose
Fuck off.
Of dollars.
Fuck off.
I mean, I was pretty happy with a week. Don't even get me started.
Like, a week was stoked.
Yeah, the week was like that first week was like the problem period, and then they fixed it.
Yeah,
and then they're like, hey, here's 2 more.
Yeah, so let's move on. Let's real quick. Let's talk about personal progress. What have you leveled so far? All of us are done with MSQ, right?
Yeah.
So
yep.
Yeah. So what have you leveled?
I am a filthy player when I do MSQ. I only play one class because I need it to be consistent through cutscenes. Sure. Otherwise, it bothers me. So I main Paladin up to 91st thematically. I loved Paladin. Holy Shieldtron, and this is something that's true for Gunbreaker and Warrior as well. And we can talk about it in a different podcast where we're talking about how we feel about class changes.
Sure.
But Holy Shieldtron feels great. I feel like tanks are most caveat. Most of the tanks are in some of the best places they've ever been.
That's good.
Gunbreaker can feel kind of clunky, and it's personal opinion of mine, but I feel like Gunbreaker leans a little too hard DPS than tank.
Gotcha.
But those were my first 2 90s: Paladin, then Gunbreaker.
Okay.
Warrior is almost 90, and after that it's gonna be Dart.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. So you crushing the tanks. Nox, where you at?
Well, first, I actually kind of approached it in a duo leveling manner, kind of the opposite of E. Nothing wrong with that, but I gotta say, I was like, I was shuddered when I'm just like, no, so much wasted experience. And then I started doing the duo leveling, and I was gated a couple times, actually, pretty much almost every level tier, to be honest, where I'd have to do some roulettes to catch either or up. But the 2 classes I did was Gunbreaker and Machinist. It was a
They're both
blast.
handy.
I love switching between the DPS and tank perspectives. I'll get into it a little bit in more detail, but the shifting, or well, the I guess expansion shock of not tanking fresh content for an entire patch cycle or release cycle,
Right.
and then jumping right into it was a bit rough.
Sure. Sure.
um, but no, I loved it, and afterwards, I actually even pretty much hammered out an anima relic too, just to kind of like
Nice.
freshen it up a little bit. And then I'm like, well, Dragoon's going to be next now.
I dig it. I like that. So for me personally, I also am kind of a degenerate. So I I did do 2 classes through MSQ and I got gated twice. And
Oh,
to alleviate those gates, I did 3 things in particular. One, I did frontline every day. Frontline is crazy experience, like absolutely crazy experience. And then I found out about Pixie dailies about 5 days into release. They still give XP past 80, which I wasn't expecting, I guess. So that was pretty nice. And then I always ran every dungeon that we got into through MSQ twice. One on the whatever character I was that accepted the quest, and then one on that other healer, if you will. So I now have
okay.
a sage and an astrologian at 90. And then I said, okay, I got to get the scholar done, but I really want to try Sumner. Sumner is amazing. I'm not going to go into it right now, but Sumner is absolutely amazing. So now I have 490s in all of those, and I'm as of this morning, my reset for roulettes and shit happened. So Warrior is my next one. I find this is the best time to level because everyone is still so hyped, and you still got there's an energy to leveling, and people are like really excited to be there. Whereas like in 2 months, every time I log in, I'm just gonna be like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I really don't. And like, be honest, most people don't want to do that. So take the high that we can now
Mm-hmm.
has kind of been my thought process on that one. So I can tell you, Sage is extremely fun, but has problems.
Yo,
Astro is fun,
I
but
unlocked that
Scholar
class and
sucks.
I unlocked Sage and went over the abilities, and my head hurt. My smooth brain.
It's very there's a lot of shock to it because it's completely different than any of the other healers. So there's a lot of things to do, and as a heal main, I was able to adjust pretty quickly only because I have a very particular way of thinking on how I set up my bars. So that overlapping abilities, like everyone's like
Oh
day
yeah,
day a week
I do
shield
that
is
with
the same.
tanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a little easier to adjust, but it takes some time for sure. So. Okay, let us. The whole point of this episode is to get into the MSQ. We already know what happens at the end of Shadowbringers. We get started and we go on a boat ride. I was not expecting a cutscene as quickly. What were your first impressions, not only of the boat ride cutscene, but kind of the Charlian tour that we get?
Well, I'll jump in there right on the boat ride and just say, hot damn, the representation or visual of Heidelin. Oh boy.
Yeah,
I mean, even at this point, I'm still kind of unclear, like if that was just a projection or if that was
right.
actually like her. Let's be real.
Yep.
um, and yeah, it was seeing Vana, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah.
Um, it was great. It was like jaw dropping, just mouth open, like, oh my god, buckle
Yeah.
up, let's go.
Really set a stage.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, and this it has to tie in with much later on in the MSQ. But just to touch on it, the incorporation of answers. You know,
Yeah.
the how how much that song ends up meaning to us and to the story. Um, and also like Vana as a character. I don't know about either of you, but the player base, as far as I was aware, going into Endwalker, no one fucking trusts Hydaelyn anymore. Like we
Yeah.
see her,
I
and it's
saw it.
like
I did.
you're the bad guy.
I got a couple notes on my notes in here
Yeah.
that I yeah.
Well, the progression and how the MSQ goes makes you question a lot of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Like I also feel like the community went into this with a lot of pre thoughts and expected those thoughts to turn into reality
I
instead of allowing them to be surprised.
I've watched
Yeah.
like 4 different streamers now, get through parts of the MSQ, and literally all of them had the same reaction. And it's like, I was surprised because you have a dialogue option when you're talking when you first address Heidelin,
On the boat.
and yeah, on the boat, and it's one of them is I can't trust you anymore, and the other one is why now.
Right.
I
Yep.
immediately was like, I still feel like I can trust you, but I have questions.
Right.
I chose
Uh,
why now at that point. I don't mean
Yeah,
to cut
yeah.
you off, but like
Same.
to go right into that. Oh man, she knows we know at that point that we're questioning, and like this is one of my kind of like I guess notes that I'm reneging on later. You know, where sh- I got super ominous vibes from that. Like it
Yeah.
just really sent like a chill to me, where I'm just like, oh shit, are we actually playing directly into her hand?
Well, and that
Like,
staged it. They staged it in a way where it's the first major thing that happens. Like the boat ride is obviously a major thing, but that's the hey, you're in this shit now moment.
Oh
mhm.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah, for
so
sure.
they kind of it almost feels like we are ready to attack when we get started on a personal level as well as in game, and then they're like, hold on, back it up, and that put you on your heels a little bit, and
Yeah.
it was a good way to do it because it really builds up anticipation. I was excited through the entire MSQ.
I
So
I'm
Yeah.
I'm really psyched that all of us chose the why now option because all 4 streamers I watched were immediately like, I don't fucking trust you, bitch.
Really?
I trusted
Yeah.
her
Oh.
only because there were a couple of things from some of the cutscenes at the end of Shadowbringers where I was like, I think she knows what she's doing and she's eventually going to tell us.
So this is an interesting viewpoint before we move on to going into Charlotte and proper. But I wanted to bring it up to both of you, especially now that I know what you picked. All of us very recently, like I think me before either of you a bit more, but we like kind of did the entirety of the story in a very compact, like bursting through it kind of way, from ARR to Shadowbringers.
Yeah.
So we
Kind of,
we
yeah.
we have a much fresher opinion of Heidelin, but a lot of
True.
these older people that have been playing the game forever now, it's been literal years since they've heard from Heidelin.
A
Yeah.
decade, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
not
true.
heard from her, but like, yeah, essentially a decade. That's an interesting point. I never thought of it that way, but I like that. Yeah, that actually that gives me a little bit to think on, so I'm kind of pumped. So the only thing I want to touch on from the tour itself of Old Charlian, and it's because it's the first time we get to experience it. How do you guys feel about the NPC following you around with additional dialogue bubbles?
I actually liked it. I mean, I like the fact that it was optional. I mean, I still did do it,
Yeah.
and I went through and read it. You know, I was actually just more admiring like the layout and architecture. Like I
Oh
like
yeah,
I said
it's
before, it
gorgeous.
was beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it was literally like the Ethysrian, I guess, version of the Crystarium. You know,
Yeah.
minus crystal and all that. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I was hoping for. It's great.
I agree with Knox. Like on point, it's a nice way for if you want more story, it is an option for you to have it, but you can also just go.
Yeah, and that's that player choice that Square Enix
Yeah.
has always been good about.
I will say though, I definitely was the player that even though it gave you the multiple boxes that said if you use an Aethernet shard, they will go back, I used Aethernet shards.
Full.
I
Full.
played
I-
myself.
I think the like third or fourth one you experience throughout the MSQ, I mounted up and went away and lost the NPC. That was the only
Yeah.
time I fucked that
Yeah.
up. But other than that, I was good to go. So, okay, so the architecture in Charlian is absolutely fantastic. I really like the world building that they did because we know nothing about it. You know, they
Yeah.
other than a big ass, sweet ass, magical fountain, and the forum lives and works there. Like we didn't know much.
Don't get me
So-
started about Labyrinthos.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not jumping the gun, but we'll get there.
Yeah. It's world building to me is very important. It also can make things feel sluggish, but it needed to happen. And I think the moment for me where I was like, I'm in this shit is when you finally get to the top where the forum collects essentially. And I was like, you get to see all of Charlian, you're on an island and you're just like, holy fuck, like this, they really thought this out. This is beautiful. This looks great.
Yeah, it
So-
is definitely one of my favorite city states by far.
Yeah.
Also, they won me over when they made it snow.
Yeah. What the fuck was that?
Like
I was
nighttime
not ready
snowing,
for
I'm
it.
like, I'm getting those Ishgard feels. You got
Yeah.
me.
I was not ready for it at all. The weather effects in 14 have always been something that are to be admired because it's so much more in detail than any other MMO I've ever played.
Yep.
Except for maybe Terra, but that's a bad game. So, I mean, who knows? So, what was really nice is they gave you a choice. They said, hey, the story stops here, and now you have two different storylines. They did this in Shadowlands. Find Alice,
Bringers.
Shadowlands. Oh my god! Excuse me.
We will be
that's the
raked
end of the
across the
podcast.
coals.
Thanks everyone. I'm out. Oh my god! They did it in Shadowbringers with Alfie and Alice. Essentially go find one of them and figure out what's going on. What'd you guys choose?
Labyrinthos.
Fafnir.
Okay, so you went to Lab first. I went to Thavnir as well. Nox, you said Thav.
Yep.
Okay, so obviously the experience doesn't really change. Why'd you pick Lab first?
I'm lazy, and I was there.
Nice.
I was like, okay. For me, I want a bit more information because, like Thavnir was cool. I thought it was an interesting concept, especially from what I'd seen from trailers. But I was on that forum shit. I'm like, I want to know what you assholes are up to. So I'm doing Labyrinthos, and I'm getting to the bottom of this.
I kind of got my, a little bit of a taste of Charlian, right? Like it was like, oh, this is great. This is
That's how I
ticking the
felt.
boxes, and I was like, you know what? The only thing I know about Thavnir is that dancers come from there.
Right.
So I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. Let's go.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm either misinterpreting it or I just don't see what the hell they're talking about. So in the initial like trailer or like gameplay thing when they fly past Radzat Han, it looks like it's on an elevated platform and it's just sitting there. It is not like that in game in my opinion. Maybe I over anticipated it or something like that, but I chose Thavnir because in my head, we're adventurers. We have already gotten to Old Charlian, and of course, I'm going to spend more time there at some point. Let's go figure out this new fucking place. Let's do this. So I was pretty pumped. So we'll start since two of us did it. Sorry, Ez. We'll start with Thavnir. The
Rude.
initial quest line. the initial quest line. What did you guys think of it as far as context, pacing, area, world building?
Let's get this out of the way. You both immediately knew that little kid was a dragon too, right?
Yeah. The
Yeah,
eyes.
like without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a
Eyes.
doubt.
It was the eyes.
It's like
Yeah.
you're a fucking dragon.
Yeah, well, the eyes, and he's an Alra, right?
Yep.
So he's already gonna have the half dragon, but the eyes.
It was the stare down between him and Estinian for me. As
was a
like,
big
oh,
one.
you both know.
So with the Crystal Tower series, Graha had one royalty eye, and then they gave him the other one, and that color is unobtainable for us, like as characters. And the color for red dragon eyes is the exact same thing. It's a different shade than the royalty one, but it is also unobtainable to us. So when I saw that, I was like, that's a fucking dragon right there, like hands down. No, not even gonna think about this. So, but other than that, pacing.
I mean, I felt it was a little slow to start. One thing I really want to note is I found it freaking hilarious how Estinian was getting swindled left and right, and we had to
Oh my
like,
God,
oh
the
god, dude,
coins?
I was
the-
laughing my
oh
ass
my
off,
God,
dude. That was
dude.
great.
So
The
good.
aether sickness when you all teleport in and like
Yeah.
fucking Urianger on the ground in the fetal position was
Yeah,
amazing.
just
That's
Oh,
but
yep.
I feel like story pace wise, I really liked it.
Okay.
Like I feel like both Labyrinthos and Thavnir led up perfectly. Like this is the slow ramp and like this is what is it that the forum's prepping for in Labyrinthos? Why?
Right.
How are things affecting places like Thavnir? Thavnir, this central hub of trading and getting things around, and you're watching their economy collapse at the
Yeah.
very beginning.
Quite literally.
And it's because of all of these towers everywhere. So I love the story pacing. It felt slow, but slow for the right reasons.
Right. So I told you guys this in Discord. I recorded every cutscene, and prior to these episodes of us recording, I went back and watched them. And during the first playthrough, Thavner in particular, I was like, "This is so fucking slow. This is too slow." And then I watched the cutscenes, and I was like, "All this is world building. I'm okay with this now." Like,
Yeah.
it needed to be that slow in order for me to really understand the depth of the area that we were in. So I appreciated it differently after the fact. I think I was also just so amped up to get going that I was just like, holy fuck, when's the shit gonna start? Like, let's go, dude. But Labyrinthos, I actually thought that was paced really well for kind of an intro to the zone. I don't like the shapes. Like, both of them are essentially bananas just pointing different ways. Like, if you look at Lab's like this before you get down to the other area, and then Thavner's like fucking up.
Yeah,
fucking bananas.
and Labyrinthos has this opposite effect of Thavner, in which you see all of these what are called gleaners being
Yeah.
sent out on these missions. Basically, it starts like these pieces start to come together as you're questing through there. Like, oh, the forum recognizes and knows that
Something.
the world is about to end.
Yeah.
They know. It's not. It's not like they're assuming or they're guessing.
Yeah,
they are
they fucking know.
They're preparing for the end of the world.
Yep,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And how the fuck do they know that?
Well, thankfully they come to it, but I also was just like, how is the forum so in this shit? Like, why are they? For a while, I thought the Labyrinthos being a dome was like their safe haven, like their bomb shelter, if you will. So I was like, man, fuck these guys.
I
just gonna go underground?
I genuinely thought Labyrinthos itself was the ship.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is they are making an entire ecosystem that they can just thrive off
Just
of.
go off.
Yeah, when I realized that was an entire damn zone, yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. That I was like, oh man, are
Like
they
artificial sunlight and
what?
everything.
Yeah, like
So
that was wild.
before we move to the dungeon, the first dungeon we get to, name one thing you didn't like about those two areas. I only have one thing I didn't like between the two.
I want to
And
hear
it's-
yours. What is your thing?
It's so ridiculous that I'm gonna get made fun of for it. But
Oh, nice.
in Labyrinthos, when you get to the first aetheryte crystal, and then it's like, okay, cool, you got to go down. You can't use the lift. That little cave area that you have to traverse is too much. Like, getting through that whole area just took so long, and this is so petty. But I was just like, I don't need to be here. This is so stupid. Why am I fucking doing this? Let me jump off this. We don't take fall damage. This is bullshit. Like, I was fuming on my way to that next area.
I
for no
definitely
reason.
I can definitely agree with that. Like I'd say, just like initially throughout, as an overall statement, in all of 14's game design, I hate when there is a crack in the world or terrain they've made,
Oh my
and they
God.
refuse to let you jump across it.
Yeah,
Mare
It is-
Lamentora.
Yeah,
has
no, don't even get me
so
started.
many of them.
dude,
Yeah.
Ultima Thune, don't even get me
Oh,
started.
Ultima's terrible. The third little area. That
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
Oh.
That's exactly what made me say that, because it's like I could, like, specifically in Razat Han, there's some places like the cliff that is overhanging the forest,
exactly
like the
what you're
jungle
talking
area.
about. Yeah.
It might as well not
Let
even
me
be a
jump.
cliff.
Yeah,
It's a
let
wall.
me fucking
The-
jump.
It's just a wall. Yep.
but I say that because, and these cheeky fuckers, the 14 game devs knew exactly what they were doing. But I had one air current, an aether current, and I was like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
cool,
I
there's
can get
another
it.
one right there. Except you can't fucking get it.
Nope.
You have to go the entire way around the zone and do a huge U thing just to get the second aether current.
Yep.
And if you're the one that put it there, if you're listening to this, if you hear me, fuck you, you're a monster.
I don't want to go off too far. Aether currents, to me, it seems weird. We talked about it in Discord. I pick them up as I go, and so that they can be done as soon as I'm done with the zone, because after the next zone we'll talk about, Garlemald, I knew that at the end of completing a zone is when you get the final quest one, so I wanted to fucking fly, and you guys did not do that.
Nope.
Neither of you. Yeah,
I'm
seems
very segmented in regiment when I do my stuff. When I'm doing MSQ, it's why It's why I only play one class, because I don't want to hit a
Makes sense.
roadblock with levels. It's like I am doing just MSQ. I'm
That's
not
fair.
doing roulettes. When I get to a dungeon, I am doing it with the trust system if I can. So I only got blocked by something twice, which is the first trial and the last trial.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I just blitzed through MSQ. I still actually don't have Aether Currents that I'm
I can't
going to be
even
setting a
imagine
day
that.
to go and do that shit.
I can't.
So.
I literally can't even fathom it. I need
It-
flying.
As soon as I was done with MSQ, that was the first thing before I even touched Gunbreaker.
You guys see it,
Nice.
right? Oh,
I'm working on
nice.
my Santa bod.
You
Nice.
see it, right?
I do. I respect
Working on my
it.
Santa bod. All right. 3.
That's not a Santa bod. That's a father figure.
Yeah, exactly. 3, 2. And then, so let's finish out with the first dungeon, which is Tower of Zot. When you first ran it, what were your first impressions?
Well, one thing I do want to actually cut in before we go there.
Okay.
I thought it was absolutely hilarious that Nidhana was like kind of preening over Estinian to be her lab experiment.
I agree. I agree completely. The whole alchemist area at I forget the zone, the Great Work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hysterical to me. They all of them just waking up when you first meet them is fucking hilarious. I don't know why, but we got our shit in. Let's go do our stuff. Like what? So yeah, first impressions on Tower of Zot.
It's okay. It didn't blow me away. I thought the last boss was really interesting.
Right, all 3 of the sisters.
Yeah,
Yep,
all 3 of
yep,
them
the Mega
together.
Sisters. It was kind of a disappointment, I gotta say, to be honest.
Sure.
Just because I was like kind of hyping them up to be something more, I guess. But
Weapon
is what it
drops for glam fire though.
Super nice. Yeah, I'm not really. Obviously, you guys know this. We have a long history of this. It's not my favorite, but
Bastard.
the weapons in that, I was like, oh, this is pretty sweet because I got I was playing Sage during that particular one, and the Sage one looked pretty cool. So I think the only I also was disappointed as a sidebar, but the only thing that kind of threw me off in a positive way was we learned about the sisters through kind of like the Thavnair mythology and how they're revered and all this. I was not ready for them to be there, and that kind of changed my expectation for future dungeons because obviously each of the towers are manifestation primals of the zone.
Yeah.
So that hit me really differently because I wasn't ready for it. It
Yep.
hadn't clicked, but it wasn't a fantastic dungeon. The second boss is the first boss is okay. The second boss is so boring, and then the third boss is like,
What?
all right, just
Okay, we're gonna get into that about second boss. Or wait, no, never mind. I was thinking second dungeon. Okay, because I was gonna say like,
Oh, no,
Tower
no,
of Babel is
With-
fantastic.
yeah, with that
we'll
knowledge,
talk about
jumping
that
into
next.
the next one. Oh man, yeah, that's a whole
Well,
nother tale.
let's just do it. We move after we clear both the Labyrinthos area as well as the Thavnair area. We kill Zot or the Tower of Zot. Garlemald is our next one. I really liked how they introduced us to the zone itself. The Eorzean contingent, that whole little thing about how, hey, we don't feel like the general public and we're going to go do a covert mission. It gave more life to characters that already had some, but gave it even more. Like Lucia became a very, very favorited character for me because
Not
of
only that, but it
yeah.
very much addressed the big outstanding issue, which is we're pretty sure the general populace of Eorzea does not want to fucking help Garlemald.
Yeah.
Like they are very much like fuck
Anti.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it was really nice that right off the bat they addressed that with
Yeah.
the alliance.
Yep.
I felt like Square Enix really, strings were always kind of all over the place for a lot of things, and every time a new string would come up, they'd be like, "All right, we'll just plug this in. We're good. Like we'll tie it up for you. We know that you're thinking about it." So, felt really good about that one. The quest line itself, how'd you guys like it? Like
Love hate.
Yeah, love hate.
hate.
Okay.
I'll like Nox. Do you want to go first on it or?
I mean, it was in between. I mean, because like I'll just put it out there. Anima is my absolute favorite summon throughout the entire Final Fantasy saga. Like absolutely, like the actual OG backstory of it, how they tied it with this, like fan freaking tastic, 100%. So like when that actually like Garlemald itself culminated to that fight, I can't say anything bad about it, to be honest. Like
Okay.
it really just ticked my like fanboy boxes, as well as the
I
it's just great
guess
content.
my
Yeah.
problem with the storyline, as much as I loved it and genuinely enjoyed it, I loved the Garlemald questing.
Same.
It was probably my second favorite out of the grouping of them. But it's because I think it really very much nailed the Garlemald mentality, but also it felt like personal, like homie development wise.
Right.
Alphino and Alize went back a couple steps.
You think
Like
so?
I have always very much been very for Alphino's optimism and been
Sure.
like I want to help these people. I want to help these people. Um, but like there are some points where it feels like I'm all for extending an olive branch, but then Alphino and Alize get captured, and the way to us
The
into
necklaces.
not being an asshole and being the warrior of light is like, hey, you fuck up, we're going to shock them to death.
Right.
And it's like this, all right, Alphino, Alize, Alphino specifically, I'm trusting you to not fuck this up.
Right. Yeah.
Because the Garleans, and I think it's something that we really get very much a mindset of with regards to like Gaius Van Belzar back in Shadowbringers for their weapons questline.
Yeah, the Whirlet.
They are extremely prideful.
Yeah.
So like my whole mindset going there is like, Alphino, do you really think these guys want your fucking help?
Well, especially being of old Charlian descent, not like he's not like a traditional Eorzean, you know. It's like, hey, you come from on high as if you're better than us. Like, yeah, know your place almost essentially. Like, I think so. It was my second favorite quest line, or Stone, or wow, Stone. Second favorite MSQ area throughout the entire storyline.
Yeah.
It is my absolute least favorite aesthetic zone. I fucking hate
How
artworks.
dare you?
It is too small. How is this small ass little fucking zone gonna be this great Garlean empire, and then we see the city in the background? It's not good enough for me. I'm sorry. It looks bullshit. There's no way that small ass little piece of shit area that we had to traverse conquered all these other lands. I'm sorry.
I feel like this is a Final Fantasy 14 problem and less a zone problem. You know what I mean? Like
I agree.
they've always had problems with like, look at this huge thing, and then like the actual physical and that might just be an MMO thing.
Yeah,
like
it could be.
The physical representation of it just cannot be.
It just wasn't met. I think of like Girabanya or Authored. Like the Ruby Sea is 3 different areas together. Garlemald's just this one chunk. Like it just size wise doesn't add up to me, and it frustrated me because I was just like, there is no way this small of an area has managed to do Zadnor, do Boscha, put up war in different fronts with us in Eorzea. Like the scope of it did not make sense to me, to be brutally honest. However, the questline itself, that is, in my opinion, that is the first true holy fucking shit moment of the expansion.
Yeah.
When what's the Legatus's name? Oh my god.
Before I jump into that,
Eurus.
one thing I wanted to add was that the discussion and inclusion / exclusion of Gaius, that I understand and I get it, like how they portrayed it in the story, that like if they have an ex-legatus come back and actually try and like come back and, oh man, he's going to be the new emperor, yeah, let's rally to that. No, that's not what they're looking for.
That's fair.
Okay, that's fair. But him not being in, come on.
I think moving into future patches, as we continue to deal with the Garleans moving forward, he definitely will have a place there.
Yeah, when we get further in, I got some theories about that. I got some theories.
That'll be after we recap the MSQ, because then we can start tinfoil hatting a little bit. Which our prediction episode I re-listened to, and we were off on so much shit. But
I'm just gonna say one thing. Spoilers, not really spoilers, but there was one thing that I like 90% hit the nail on the head on. That I'm just like, fuck yeah! So just The Xenos one?
Oh yeah, you were dead on.
Like it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which,
man,
by
that's a
the
big
way,
spoiler right now.
by the
Actually,
way,
shit.
well, like not even to go into like any spoilery parts about it, but just like community reaction to that, a lot of people fucking hated that.
Really?
And I don't know why.
I
I think
loved
there's
it.
a lot of
I didn't.
people that genuinely hate Xenos as a character and did not want any kind of arc for him outside of I want you to die.
Yeah, which is surprising to me.
I mean, I'll have
Especially
a
with
whole dissertation on that when we
Yeah.
get to
like
that. But
yeah,
yeah.
especially
That is the final
considering
one.
Square's like handling of character development and like giving these characters motivation.
Mhm.
I didn't understand how in Endwalker Xenos does have an arc, and like it was the entire way through like I don't fucking care, die, 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 die. I don't want you here. I
Right.
hate you.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just put a little out there. What I'm going to kind of go into is that, like, I really like how they sparked that, how they sparked the
Yeah.
difference in Endwalker.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I mean, I really want to save like a lot of the talk later, but yeah, it's
'cause
it's
we'll
very
get
clear
into the
early
back
on
end.
that there's something different. Like,
But-
well, actually, talking back to that, we actually skipped over it. The
dinner
Xenos
party.
Fandaniel convo.
Yeah, the dinner party. I was actually just gonna bring that up. The dinner party was fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I say our first fucked up moment, and we were touching on that before we got on this
Oh,
tangent
yeah.
about Xenos.
Yeah,
The Legatus blowing his brains out.
Fuck me.
Holy shit!
That was the first. I was in my head. I was like, "Cool, this Legatus. He's not going to be stoked for us, but we can work with him." And then they show him
Nope.
killing himself, and
Nope.
I was like,
And then it does the
What?
slow rollover of the pistol, and I'm like, no
Yeah.
fucking way.
and then they show the blood against the flag, which I thought was like very particular because like they came down frame and showed the flag and the blood, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my fucking god, like what the hell just happened? And like Euless is not prepared at all. Fuck man, that fucked me up. And then it moves into the dinner party after that, and I don't know how you guys feel the whole body swap thing.
I loved it.
I loved it too. Some people did not like it. They were like, "How could they take
Game-
the Warrior Lights?" I'm like, "Oh, this is."
I
great
mean,
to me."
I can understand like gameplay wise it being a little frustrating. It's like, okay, this is weird. This is like
It's not my character.
Oh, it's not even that it's not my character. It's like, oh my god, I am super squishy. I am like right on that
So
edge of
squishy.
death. But like that's the point. It's like, yeah, you're fragile. You're not the hero anymore.
Right.
You're Joe Schmo, and like,
Sense
are
of
you
survival.
are you still going to be able to save the day? Like,
Right.
God, that was such an amazing scene.
The duty was great. I think we should talk about that. I thought that duty, the scene is fantastic. Fandaniel really, really plays up his look at me, I'm a fucking tool. Like it was hysterical to me. I was just sitting there like, the more I hate this character, the more I'm starting to realize that I just like how overly theatric he is.
Oh,
I don't know. It played really well. and
Which
then-
which really leads into the reveal of like we found out back in the Tower of Zot, but he's like, yeah, you already know who I am. I'm Amon.
yeah.
And it's like, a fucking course you are, Amon. Like everything we've seen of him being kind of like almost like the court jester scientist of Zonde. And it's like, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was great. That little reveal was just like oh my god, I can't believe this.
Yeah, him being Zonde's first advisor, like, definitely blew my mind. I was like, oh my.
What's so did you guys like that duty? I assume. I mean, it was.
Oh
pretty
yeah.
Fucking
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I got a little frustrated with the stealth moments,
Sure.
having to figure
There
that
was
shit
some.
out. But
Well, I
it
got
wasn't
stuck
that bad.
for. I got stuck for a very long time trying to find the tank of ceruleum or whatever. I was
So
trying
here,
to look for.
here's my thing. I found the dude who's like, oh, key, and then I found the tank of gas, and I'm like, okay, cool. I found these things. Where do I put them?
Right. Yeah.
It was the fact when I realized that I had to go Metal Gear Solid watching Pat's level. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right, let's do this. Let's
could
time
get
this
a
shit
little
out. Let's
wearing.
do this.
Yeah, it could get a little wearing for sure. But I think the resolution that came from that and kind of the cutscene that came after that with Xenos was fucking nuts, dude.
I never thought I'd get to watch myself beat the shit out of myself, and it's pretty
Seriously,
great.
yeah, it felt really good. Yeah. I also think I really liked that Alice in particular was able to be like, "You're not you." It just felt good. Like
Yeah,
it was so
Alize and
small, but it
Graha,
was
Graha were both like, "Who are
yeah,
you?"
yeah. Graha's the super Chad of the expansion. Oh my
Yeah,
god,
he is.
that guy
Yeah, he
is such.
is.
They
He's
We'll get
are
into
our
that later
biggest.
on, but there's
yeah.
so many times.
Oh
Oh,
my god,
the first
so
one's
good.
actually getting up close, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. We'll actually talk about that
That
just a
job
sec.
change, just saying.
Oh yeah, so it felt so good. He looks good with a sword and shield.
Yeah, he
It really,
does.
it really
Oh, that
does.
was
It
so
suits
good.
him very well. But so then at the end, the conclusion of Garlemald, we have one more dungeon, which Nox, you almost got into me, but you realize that that's not how I feel. Tower of Babel is amazing. Fucking great. It's a great dungeon. It's really pleasantly designed. I love the train. I love getting into the area, and then the anima fight to finish it felt like a trial.
I, I
Yeah, but
this
you're
is
on
I
anima.
spoiled this a little bit earlier.
Sure.
This is me jumping in as because I was going piggyback back and forth every level for level from machinist to
During
gunbreaker to
this, yeah.
machinist, etc. So this was I hit this dungeon 83. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this. Quick queue and all. Like, oh dude, I got wrecked. It was bad. I wasn't ready. I'll say it. And
Nice.
didn't get through it, and I actually got vote kicked, man. And I'm like, wow,
Whoa!
Whoa.
yeah, dude. It was like I know I said I rage quit it earlier, but it was more like, no, like
You got
we wiped
pleasantly
on a
asked not
trash
to
because
come
I didn't
back.
have my fucking tank thing on, and I said I'm sorry, and I forgot. Which
Oh
I get that.
no!
I get
The
that.
tank stance.
I tried to do a wall to wall, yes, without my tank stance on, so I'll take that one to the teeth. We wipe on the first boss once. I didn't know mechanics. Everybody's going in blind,
Yeah.
right? Wipe again, and I'm like, all right, I'm avoiding shit. Like, what's going on? Like, do I need to do something else? And then I've never seen this before, but I made sure to keep this to myself until just this moment.
Okay.
I got a get good from a healer.
That hurt.
Like,
That
I've never
hurt.
had that before in Final Fantasy, and I'm just like, dude, like, I'm sorry. Like, I laid it out there. I was like, I don't usually tank. I got my buffs up. I'm dropping cooldowns. Like, is there something I should be doing? Like, what's going
Sure.
on? Like,
I want to get better.
Toxicity
yeah.
in my Final Fantasy 14.
and I'm like, okay, like, we do it again, and so this is, you guys are gonna laugh at this, but
Oh no!
I stood in a thing, wasn't supposed to, dropped a cooldown.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Dropped my rejuve. I fat fingered and bow lighted. And it was bad because, like, the
Ouch.
healer took it as like, oh, just trying to mess with me over here, man. And he stopped healing me, and then we wiped again. And I'm like, dude, what the hell?
Big.
And I'm like,
oops.
okay, guys, like, what else do we need to do? And then I look and I'm like, you're not in a party. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And that's why I
Ouch.
rage quit that night.
Sure.
Mhm,
I can
mhm.
understand. I'd be pretty pissed.
Man.
So I take it full frontal, There were some bad things I did, right? I definitely messed up with my take icon, which I have not done that since. But yeah, no, after that though, I definitely took it into my wheelhouse to dig into Gunbreaker and just be like, I obviously know nothing what the hell I'm doing here, and apparently no, I was doing it right, and like I was keeping my cooldowns as I needed. Where I saw I'm dropping
Sure.
below like 70%, something they couldn't keep me topped above it. I'm keeping my rotation up, dropping my charges. I don't know. I don't know.
What's when you got kicked? What type of healer was it?
Oh, I want to
It was a
know.
white mage.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm
gonna
not
tell you
surprised.
guys right
Not
now,
surprised.
and I don't want to get too sidetracked on this one. Not only is Sage super difficult to master, there is no room for air on trash whatsoever. It is particularly difficult as a Sage on trash. Bosses, no fucking problem. I can handle that all day. It's tough on Sages. So that just as a heads up for you guys later on. But Man, that's brutal. I'm sorry that you got kicked.
Oof,
That's
yeah,
Yeah,
that is rough, man.
That's kind of why I didn't.
not the
I
best.
like because we chat outside of
Yeah,
the thing and whatnot. That's why I literally was just like, yeah, I just jumped because like I didn't want to make it a big thing, and I was literally just kind of fuming, like, what the
Sure.
hell? Like I thought I did everything right. I'm trying to say, not gonna rag on it anymore.
It's,
um,
I thought mechanically, like I've main tank. That's pretty much all I do. I enjoy the other roles, but not as much as I've loved tanking in practically any MMO. But I can say from a tank perspective, sometimes it very much, especially with the cutting edge content, like as I've been progressing through things, it feels like sometimes healers are a little bit too gung ho about DPS first, and
Sure.
that's a problem for me.
yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
but like focusing on Babel specifically, mechanics wise and like just lore wise, fun as fuck. Way
Yeah.
better than Zot. Way better than
Way better.
Zot.
Way
Yeah.
better.
Zot did not set a high bar for me. But Babel's still like the first two bosses were okay. In my opinion, they were still more engaging, at least mechanic wise, than anything in Zot outside of maybe the last boss.
Right, and even the last boss is kind of just like
Yeah. It's kind of like, hey, we're gonna here's a couple new mechanics, and then we're going to throw the other two bosses' mechanics at you at the same time.
Yeah, that's how it felt for sure.
But and this is what all of us have harped on. Anima felt like with a little bit more, it could have been a trial.
So good. It's such.
It's such a cool fight.
I'm almost
It really
disappointed
is.
that it is as early as it is because it's such a fun fight.
But like that's the other thing. We all thought it was gonna be a fucking trial.
Yeah, I thought Anima would
mean-
be a late trial, and I don't know. I also think the one thing about
They bamboozled
Anima,
us.
lore-wise, I think it's super fucked up that they use Varys's body to summon Anima.
dude, yeah, like how his
Super fucked
like
up.
born of the emperor's death and whatnot. Like, oh
The
man.
whole thing the Emperor did not want was primals, and they're like, "We're gonna use your body as a catalyst."
Yeah, like the
ultimate
Garlands.
fu.
Garlands didn't have anything to worship except they did worship something, the
Yeah.
Emperor.
The Emperor, yeah, brutal. But when you complete Tower of Babel, we did it, boys. We're fucking GameStop stock. We went to the fucking moon.
Oh,
It was
Oh,
fantastic.
memes.
Yeah,
Old
old
memes.
memes. Old memes, gotta hit it. Hey, GameStop's making a rally.
Look,
it's not.
when we all saw it, I was like, "There, no fucking way are we going to the moon." Like, I'm level 83. What are you talking about? I'm going
Right.
to the moon.
Oh.
So, what do you think that was from? Because I think the community saw the Endwalker trailer and they were like, "Oh, it ends on the moon, so that's where we end."
I mean, that's just
I
like
thought, yeah, that's where my gut went, to be honest with
Same.
you.
that's
Like-
clever, deceptive storytelling. Because
Yeah.
as soon as I saw that I was going to the moon, I was like, "Holy shit! This is so much bigger than dealing with
Yeah.
Zodiark and going to the moon."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like-
got I have a note in all caps here that says, "What the hell else is out there?" Like that, because at
It's like-
83 we're going to the moon,
going to
and
the
like
moon,
that
yeah.
was hyped as like the
And then-
Endwalker. Like, oh yeah,
We
it's
didn't just
so-
go to the moon, boys. We immediately got into go deal with Zodiark.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right off the bat.
So you teleport in, and then the Watcher comes, which you guys know who the Watcher is, right? I'm not crazy.
I thought he was Hythlodaeus.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
No.
I've been thinking that the whole time.
He is not Hythlodaeus.
Who is he?
He is a simulacrum made by Hydaelyn. He is a nobody, like the Shades in Amarat.
I think yes. However, in
Because
Amarat
we
as well,
meet-
there was
we-
a shade of Hythlodaeus.
Right, but we meet Hythlodaeus
Okay.
down at Zodiark.
I talked about this on my personal channel about my favorite voice actors. My two favorite are non-essential characters. Hythlodaeus' voice actor, fantastic job.
Yep.
Let's not get too sidetracked. It's amazing.
Yeah, but we get to the tower and we meet the Watcher, which is the
Yeah.
simulacrum that Hydaelyn made just to chill out, watch Zodiark. And then he's like, "Yeah, no, go down there and deal with that because that's bad."
Yeah, something's going on.
I got to bring it up. the fact that they're like unleash the beam, and then it's like it stops at one crystal. I'm like, oh, you son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
I thought the same thing. I was like, come on, man. This whole fucking like century long, multiple millennia long plan, and you're gonna get stuck on this one beam.
I mean, that's the
on,
thing
dude.
is like, I don't think it was that. I think Fan Daniel saw an opportunity to fuck over all of the other Ashians and their 12,000 year long plan to save their brethren,
Yeah.
and he took it. He's like, oh, Elidibus is gone. All right, I'm gonna burn the world.
Well, what's interesting is it's obviously retconned, and we'll go into that in the next episode. But Fandaniel's character just spans so long, and each person that has embodied Fandaniel has picked up the personality. Like this has been his feeling for millennia. He fucking just wants to die.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it out there, like, yeah, spanning back from his OG version, like, yeah, it's crazy how deep that goes. Like, I got some more to span into later on, but yeah, it really is deep.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dudes. Fan Daniel and like who he used to be originally really hit a personal chord for me that I think he may be one of my favorite characters in 14.
That is a
like
big
OG.
Okay, we're gonna save
Daniel.
that chat for when we get to Hermes. Okay, now I'll say it.
Right,
I'm gonna drop his name. Yeah, we'll
That's
save
fine.
that chat when we
talked
get to
about this,
Hermes.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about my favorite zone next episode. Like it's fine.
But yeah, we get to the moon. We meet our golden labradoodle friend. That's like, hey, sup?
Argos.
I love you.
I love.
I love that space poodle.
Yeah, it's just like it's a fucking show dog, dude. It's got fucking papers. All right,
and then
you can tell he's brushed. He's that guy's good to go.
And then we follow Argus. Argos to one of the pillars that we see it's shattered, and we're confronted by a bunch of ghosts that are coming out of Zodiark. Not shades, not recreations like what we saw in Amarat. The legitimate article, like these are
the
bleeding
actual
out
souls, the hard souls that were.
And they're bleeding out of Zodiark,
Zodiark's
and they're all like confronting us, like, "Who do you think you are? What are you doing? Zodiark is our god."
Right.
And then Hythlodaeus shows up.
Yep.
And he's
like, "Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I recognize you.
Yeah, I've seen your shade before. I can see.
Yeah.
I can pick up on auras.
Yeah.
So before we talk about the trial itself, Zodiark's character model is so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Like it is. It kind of made me jealous because we had just finished Tower of Babel. I really wish that Anima scale could have been that large, and just seen what they could have done with the detail, because fucking Zodiark is just so nuts. Like there's so much going on, the different limbs missing and shit.
Yeah,
like,
that was the coolest part, to be honest, just to
God.
represent that he's like fragmented, but he's almost whole, and like, it was so cool.
He's been brimming with power. Like,
Yep.
fucking, it was amazing, honestly. Like the lead up to it, I was just like,
when Daniel becomes the heart, like what?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
and then like we get, so like you just got into, we Hythlodaeus is like, yeah, so there's only one pillar left. You might want to go deal with that. I will make sure the shades don't fuck with you while you do that.
right.
And then we fly over there, and literally in the cutscene of us just trying to get to the pillar, they
Xenos.
destroy it.
Yep.
And it's like, at that point,
Too
I'm
little,
like,
too
oh
late.
shit. Oh, it's game over.
Yeah.
Zodiark's out.
Well, and so the trial is stunning.
Well, I didn't even think it was going to be a trial. I just want to put it out there. I did not think that was going to just jump straight to be like, oh my God, he's out. Oh shit. Like, oh, yeah, exactly. And then it's like, oh, okay.
I was stunned at the top where Fandaniel was, like Fandaniel is like, I get that you two have this whole little thing going on, but I'm going to take Zodiark now.
Right.
And then, like you guys said, like we get down there, and this was one of those huge emotional scenes in Endwalker for me, where you see somebody you don't recognize. When I first saw them, I thought, oh my God, is that Azim? Is that OG Azim?
Right.
Which we find out, no, it is not.
No, it's not. No.
But then it's like, you do the crystal thing, the summoning pillars show up, and then fucking the Endwalker theme kicks in, and it's
Oh
just
yeah.
Yeah,
Ah!
we haven't touched that on any of the zones. Music has been spot on everywhere.
of course,
I
of
can't
course.
complain about music anywhere. It's been so good.
I'm listening to the soundtrack right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Ultima Thul's music is probably some of my favorite ever, just because it made that zone feel different. But anyways, the trial itself, what I really appreciated about it is it was hard enough to present a challenge for pugs, but it was not so hard that it wasn't beatable. And like 1-2 wipes at most for most pug groups when it first
Oh,
came
yeah,
out,
for sure.
which is great. Like it's so new and like the fight is so good that you're like, I don't give a fuck that we wipe. Let's do this again, guys.
Exactly.
Like,
Yep,
I'm like,
yep.
Oh, man.
we wiped. I think I wiped 2 times when I fought Zodiark the first time, but all of us were just so hyped about the
Yeah.
fight that we were immediately like, let's go,
and the
right
fact
back
that
into
it's
it.
there, like you're just like, holy fuck, this is it. We're going, guys. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, like we've
so
cranked
great.
it to 100. This can only go up from here.
Oh yeah.
So
Which can I say, as like a technical side of things,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you both know exactly what I'm talking about when I go into it. New markers. Tank Buster finally has a marker.
Yeah, the red
Unique
arrow.
Tank Busters finally have markers.
Yeah.
Essentially the Morn AOE DPS kind of thing where you have to
Yeah.
sag has its own marker now.
Well, they're specific too. They will have multiple arrows coming
Yeah.
at once if
Yeah.
it's going to continue, and then a single arrow if it's just one. I think that's fantastic. It makes the thought process is so much cleaner in that.
Exactly. Yeah.
It feels really good, especially knowing that I'm going to be raid leading. Like, oh man, that I know that I don't have to fucking deal with brain dead Charlie over here because
That's
they can't figure
me!
it out.
It's me!
So-
I'm brain dead,
Um,
Charlie.
So when
I
you
just want to
finish,
chime in here twofold, actually. I beat the Q boss. Thank you very much.
Nice,
Nice.
there you go. I
Just
like
throwing that
that.
out there. And the other part is actually like a couple things about like actually beating the trial. Like, oh man, like the revelation that Zodiark's death is actually like that mark that begins the end. And then like I just sat there for a second, like, oh no, we did do this. Like,
Like the whole thing with Zodiark getting out was, you know, he could essentially, if they wanted to temper the world with Zodiark,
Right.
and like that's one of the things I was worried about in the moment. But then it's like the fucking reverse Uno that
And Daniel pulls.
Fan Daniel wanted was he's like, yeah, no, I knew you were going to win. I
Yeah.
assumed you were going to win.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
wanted you to win, and then he kills Zodiark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the final thing about this zone is the aftermath and the implications that it brings. I was not expecting that at all. I was not ready. Personally,
Yeah.
like mentally, I was just like, "What does this mean?" Like,
The whole
how?
when you're out of the hole, and you get the whole horror etchy screen, and
Yeah.
you just see the line "Ah, at last" from a feminine voice. I was
Dude.
like, everyone I talked to, because I was talking to a couple people that were at the same spot as me, was like, "Holy shit, we called it! Heidelin's evil."
Yep.
dude, this is another one of those notes I was talking about. I literally have quote unquote that bitch Heidelin is going to fuck us all.
Yeah, bitch.
I had somebody hit me on Discord and go, "I told you, I fucking told you," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Just finished the Zodiac trial." I was like, "Oh shit." What'd you tell me? He goes, "You know what I told you? Heidelin's a bitch. She knew it was coming." I was like, "Okay." I was at this point. I was already close to Elpis, so I was like, "I don't know what's going on here." But yeah, you do you, buddy. It's fine. It's fine. Ending thoughts on where we are as far as the first 3 zones and your impressions it left on you. Obviously, we've finished, so we know what's coming. But
No
Where's your
fucking
headspace?
clue where we're going next. We
Yeah.
just beat Zodiark.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
We killed Zodiark is dead at level 83. The big bad of the past 10 fucking years is gone.
Yeah.
See, to that point, my biggest takeaway from it was that Zodiark was a letdown to Xenos. And I felt like I paralleled to Xenos in that mind. I wouldn't say it. Not saying I did not enjoy the trial, right? It was a
Right.
great
Sure,
fight,
sure.
the build up to it and whatnot. But knowing that it's like, wait a second, like obviously, fourth wall and whatnot. We're level 83 and we have so much more to get to 90 right now.
Right.
What the hell else is
coming
going
next?
on?
Yeah.
I think part of my mindset in that moment was like, oh, this is it. We're finishing off what we started in Shadowbringers, like Elidibus and Emmett Silk, like were the Ascian threat, and now all that's left is their fragmented god. And like I felt like that really hit it home, and like especially considering what was introduced in Shadowbringers, the concept of the final days,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
why Zodiark was made in the first place. And so it's like we get to him, and we're assuming we're going to knock him down, and then the Watcher is going to reseal him in his
Right.
place. And Fandango was like, "No, fuck you, reverse Uno," and kills himself while he's inside of Zodiark.
Yeah. It was.
Which just rekindled the final days. It's like, yeah, now the world is going to end, and it's your fault.
Well, what's cool is we don't find out why until the next zone that comes up, or after we complete the moon and then go to the next zone. But I know that in that moment, not knowing where we are now, I immediately was just like, did Fandaniel just fuck over Xenos so that we had a chance to kill Xenos because he doesn't want to serve him? Because I thought Xenos was going to take Zodiac's power.
I think it went exactly how Fandaniel knew it was going to go, which is Xenos has a singular mindset of I want to fight the Warrior of Light, and where Xenos thought he was using Fandaniel was using
Xenos, yeah, and it felt like the greatest double cross because he killed himself and he was just like, he can't do anything to me now, bro. I'm moving on.
Like
I'm good to go.
Fandaniel, and I think you can see it in the way Fandaniel talks and like jokes around a lot of the time when we see him with Xenos. He very much considers Xenos like a petulant child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what was interesting is my last mindset on Zodiark. Once Fandaniel was like, I've done it, I'm gonna move on. In my head, I was just like, Fandaniel has been controlling everything this entire time and letting Xenos believe that he's been serving him this whole time by being obnoxious and just being overly playful. And he's not redeemed in my eyes, but it definitely made me like Fandaniel's character to a point where I'm like, this guy is not just tolerable. This is a fun character.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was really, really good because we talked about it in the predicting episode. All I wanted was Fandaniel to die. Like, I fucking hated him for Endwalker, and I really, really like, even before the Elpis stuff with Hermes, I really liked how they finished that person of Fandaniel's spirit there.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
really,
The
really
Amon
good.
version.
So, yeah, the Amon version, exactly. So,
Yeah.
whew, okay, so unfortunately, that's going to be it for this one. Even if you just heard our podcast about the first start of Endwalker, that should be enough to entice you to play. Plain and simple. That's how good this game is because it just gets so much fucking better. But there's no copies for you, so you're a fucking idiot if you haven't bought it already. Sorry.
Don't play my game. I don't want a bigger queue.
Yeah, true. This game is absolutely fantastic, and the public reviews that have been coming out on multiple different gamer websites are there to prove it. And I think it just really showcases that this has been such a great culmination to a 10-year long story. So that's going to be my final thought. Nox, as anything?
I'm excited to get into the next podcast and talk about where we're headed.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah. I can only say the same. I am only excited to just keep going through it because it just keeps getting better.
Yep, and we get to gush real hard on the next ones. So it is currently 12/19, which means this will come out on 12/20. As a result, we're going to be recording next Sunday. To all of our Americans and anybody else around the world who celebrates, Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas, that's an English term. Happy holidays. Merry, happy Christmahana Kwanzaa. There it is. But next episode, we're going to get into the Loporits, Elpis, and probably hit Ultima Thule, and hopefully finish off the story of Endwalker. This is part 1 of that. Thank you so much for listening wherever it is you listen to your podcast. If you find this on YouTube, make sure that you do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, dislike for all we care. Drop a comment and let us know what you thought about the episode. We will be returning next week. As always, I'm going to be DTG.
I'm Ez.
And I'm Knox.
This has been Best in Slot Radio. Thank you so much. Take care.